Well, thank you for coming out this morning. I asked Jeff to turn up the air conditioning just a little bit. I realize that there's a lot of glare, and so I will read these out as we go along. I do all of these against a black background. This is called The Wild Places of Southwest Florida, or simply put, Meet Your Neighbors. A lot of people move down here, and of course the neighbors are usually from Ohio. But they can't tell the difference between one bird or the other bird, or one snake or the other snake. And so I wrote back in 2009 or 2008 during the Great Recession, I wrote Living Sanibel. Does anyone have that book here? Oh yeah, that's a beauty. In that book I covered all of the bugs, all of the fish, all of it. Well, the trouble was when I went outside of Sanibel, when I went and did presentations in a bigger world, there is a world beyond Sanibel, it just fell flat because we don't have a lot of the same animals they have. The environment changes dramatically just when you go over the bridge. Deer, wild turkey, crested caracaras, swallowtail, well, we got swallowtail guys. We don't have the others, but. So, this is Greetings from Florida, the land of sunshine. We're going to get to this later. But this entire presentation is based on a book called The Living Gulf Coast, A Nature Guide to Southwest Florida. And I have the honor of noting that the photographer of this picture, could you stand up, Sarah? This photograph was photographed by Sarah Lopez. Wonderful significant other, Richard Fortune, and they together contributed so many photos to both Living Sanibel and Living Gulf Coast that I'm still paying them $1,000 a month. Isn't that right? But this is the entire principle of this book and every nature book I've ever written. In the end, we will concern only what we love. We love only what we understand. We understand only what we are taught. And that is the overriding principle of Ding Darling, and I'm sure if he were here today, which he is based on this weather, he would agree, because we have to learn. So, how does this book work? This is can you see it's a wood store? Now, this one is going to be hopeless for you to see because it's so tiny. Yeah, good luck with that one. Could someone read that to me? No, I'm going to give you an overview real quick, okay? The wood store and then the scientific name. Most of the scientific names, I'm going to be upfront with you, I made up. There's a lot of E pluribus unum birds or unum pluribus bird, there's just a lot of crap in there. But the other names are very interesting because when you Google up all the nicknames for the wood store, you come up with some incredible names. One of them is Flint. One of them is called Flinthead. Another one I really like is Spanish Buzzard or Wooditis. These are all true nicknames. But the panther, the cougar, whatever you want to call it, that has over 50 names, 50 nicknames. So it goes crazy. And then it gives it a status, endangered species, IUCN, least concerned lifespan. I did the lifespan long before even the Cornell Lab of Ornithology added lifespans. They can live up to 18 years. The length, the wingspan, et cetera, and then most importantly, where you might be able to see them. But the best places to see them, well, here's one fact that I picked up. But I wanted to say the best places to see them are in drainage ditches along roads. They love 6 to 8 inches of water, and that's where they feed, and so they love drainage ditches. And they're quite useful people. Now, here's a fact, this is in the dialogue. The wood stork has a unique way of feeding, which makes it interesting to observe. It captures its prey using a specialized technique known as grope feeding or tactolocation. It prefers to feed in water 6 to 10 inches deep with its long black bill partly open. When the fish touches the bird's bill, it snaps shut with an average response time of 25 milliseconds. To put this number into perspective, humans blink at 330 milliseconds. So a wood stork snaps its bill shut on an unsuspecting minnow 13 times faster than the blink of the human eye. It is, by the way, It is known as the fastest response time of any animal on Earth. That's how fast they are. And what I try to do when I write about every bird that's here, including all the accidentals and occasionals, which some of you may or may not realize we get birds that just kind of show up at random. Sometimes from the Caribbean, sometimes from the north, and those are in there as well. And then all of the lizards, and there are a ton of lizards in the state of Florida, about half of which are invasive. The curly-tailed lizards, the iguanas, the little Cuban anoles. So all of that is in there, and then all of the mammals. And we have very, very few mammals. If you include dogs and cats, we're at like 36. And to give you an idea of what that is, in Kruger National Park, they have 168. So we're right on mammals, except for people from Ohio. Now, I'm going to focus on Lee County because that's where we are. And Lee County has a lot of destinations, but they're not very big. When it comes to the size, Collier has us whooped. But one of my favorites up north is Boca Grande. And the Boca Grande, the kind of a national seashore, and the most valuable park in all of Florida. They have 2 miles of Gulf front property. At what, 5 million per 100 feet? You do the math. So it's just an incredibly beautiful place, and there you might be lucky enough to see black-hooded gulls. And these are just now putting their hoods on because it's breeding season. During the winter, male and female look exactly the same. Across the way is Cayo Costa State Park, which amazingly is one of the most likely places you could see an endangered indigo snake, because they're still up there and they're quite common to see along the beach and in the... You also might see one of these if you're very lucky. We have these, but they're generally offshore. This is a northern gannet that breeds in, can you see that okay? I guess you can. That breeds in Newfoundland in massive, massive colonies, hundreds of thousands of birds. And then if you're lucky enough, you might see a fish crow. In this case, the fish crow is acting more like me, actually. I don't want to think about it, but I don't know who shot this, but that's one lucky crow. That's what I think. Now, here's the funny part. This is the Caloosahatchee Regional Park. A lot of people don't know this. This is one of the few places that has dirt bike and horse trails. I don't know how many acres, but it's in the other side of the road. But it's right in the Caloosahatchee. Just opposite is Hickey Creek Mitigation Park, which sounds as if you should bring your attorney when you go there. But it's in fact a beautiful, I think it's 10, 20,000 acres. So it's as big as Sanibel. And it's an amazing place. Another place that I like to go, although they're all gone now, is Manatee County Park. How many of you been to Manatee County Park? Almost everybody here. That's good, because that is the best place to see manatee, especially in the winter. You can see literally hundreds. I made the mistake of canoeing down there with them, and that gets awkward because they'll come up, they won't mean to tip you over, but they weigh 1,000 pounds, and if you're on top of them and they need to breathe, you get tipped, and then you get eaten alive. A lot of people don't know that. They're very slow. It takes a long time. What I'd like to know is how the manatees told all the other manatees to go to the power plant up in the Orange River. Because if you look at they can't text. Look at the size of them. Unless they have really big iPhones. Maybe under the sand. That's it. Here's one. Have any of you heard of Harns Marsh in Lehigh Acres? Okay, just a handful. Okay, this is an interesting place because this is not a tidal location. You can go there low tide, high tide, that don't matter. If you go into Ding Island at high tide, number one, that's not a good thing to do because there's nothing to see. You might see a couple of doves, etc. You got to go lower the better, low winter tides. But Harns Marsh was not intended to be a preserve at all. It's actually one of the best preserves in all of Lee County. You can see sandal cranes, snail kites, limpkins, etc. They're there all the time. So here's the description. The only reason I bring this up, because I just had to do that when I had all the symbols. If you'll note on your far left, there's the ski-mobile. That is permitted, but you have to be a complete idiot because it's all sand and it's going to wreck your track. But it's amazing, and this next thing is what makes it successful and what makes it extremely fascinating if you're into what I call real-time evolution. Because here's something that I just learned in the past couple of weeks. So, what happened in Harms Marsh is it gathered, these are invasive. These are from, I believe, Brazil. I believe they're Amazonian apple snails. They're giant. They're just huge. They're 4, 5, 6 times bigger than our native snail. The snail kites, always ate our native snails. When these first came in, the snail kite population took a major hit, except for those snail kites that had slightly bigger beaks. And now that these apple snails have completely overtaken our native snails, the surviving snail kites are going just like this because they've adapted within inside of 4 or 5 generations to have birds that can handle these. Limpkins have no trouble. They would just take them to the shore and beat them to living crap with a big beak and then break them open. Snail kites they only eat snails. They're endangered in Florida, but in the Brazilian rainforest, they're fine in the world. But they started to eat these invasive snails, and now their population is soaring, which really complicates the whole invasive species dilemma, you know. I mean, when we want to talk about invasive species, I would recommend the mirror. We start with the mirror. Edison, in this book I included about 62, or I think 64 destinations that are really, really described in great detail. One of them is the Edison home, because they have beautiful botanical gardens as well as the home itself, which is historical and worth seeing. And there you might be lucky enough to see the largest butterfly in all of North America, the giant swallowtail. I think, and Sarah took this, as a matter of fact. Another place to go is the Calusa Nature Center. It is a series of trails. If you're lucky, you might be able to catch this. And a great photographer by the name of Heather Greene took this shot of a great horned owl. And is that not just, what a photo. You might also see the state butterfly, which is the zebra longwing, which we had in abundance here before the storm, but since the storm, I've not seen one. And butterflies are few and far between, period, since the storm, but a few of them are coming back, but this one not. I've got a lot of photographs by Alan Maltz, who has all of the photographs out at the airport. And I like this one because this is how we, in our mind's eye and in reality, see birds or see nature. We romanticize it. They're always bigger in real life than they are when you get close. But I just wanted to do this next slide because this is how birds pretty much see us. Especially when we have a gun, or a bow and arrow, or a pellet gun, or you name it. It's like, oh my God. Anyway, another interesting place is 4 Mile Cove Ecological Park in Cape Coral. It's not very big, but it has a bunch of canoe trails, and it has a bunch of picnic areas in the back. You can see there's this kiosk, and you can take the kayak or canoe out to that, and you can then camp there, not camp there, but you can picnic there. Also, Cape Coral is well known for its burrowing owls. If you want to see burrowing owls, the best place to see them is the Cape Coral Public Library. I mean, they're just so acclimated to people, they're just going to park themselves wherever they feel like now. They used to be on Sanibel. A lot of people don't know that. They're extirpated from Sanibel. They used to hang out where the dunes is now, and they've just never come back since all the alterations, which is funny because they really technically could. Another place to park yourself is 6 Mile Slough, which it's just a fantastic local boardwalk. I think it's a little over a mile long, and it's got a lot of birds. It's got a lot of bald cyclists. It's a great place. There, I took this photo there. That is not a water moccasin. That is a Florida water snake, which intentionally look like water moccasins, so you'll leave them and other animals will leave them alone. It's a very common trick. But this saying was there: falling in love with the earth is one of life's great adventures. And I'll say hallelujah to that. The Calusa Blue Trail, or Blue, what, I forget the name of it. Anyway, it's a series of GPS marks across the entirety of Pine Island Sound that you can go to and visit. And it's still active, but I included it, and then you got to go on the website to find out. But they bring you all through. It's the Blue Way Trail. And then Lakes Park, which is a great place to view birds, and I believe there's some rookeries in there, are there not? And you can go there, and you might be lucky enough then to see a glossy ibis, which is now more or less resident. It's parked here, it's not going anywhere. They seem to get along well with the regular white ibis. I wish we could learn from them. Not Bowditch Park, but this is Bowman's Beach. Yeah, no, not Bowman's Beach. What's the one over on Bunch Beach, which is really a fascinating place, especially for rarer shorebirds. A lot of shorebirds gather there, and it's the only place I know of in all of the coastline where you can go and explore tidal pools. Because on a dead low tide at Bunch Beach, it's so shallow that you'll get these big pools forming, and in the pools you can find crabs, you can find shells, you can find all kinds of minnows. It's an amazing place. Bowditch Point is another really good spot. It's at the very peak of Fort Myers Beach. A lot of Lee County's parks are small. There you might see a reddish egret, which has, rare amongst birds, it has 2 color phases. The one on the bottom is the reddish, and then the white. And sometimes you'll get the red ones with only a couple of white feathers, and but it's interesting, it has two phases. Now, the Living Gulf Coast was based off of the living Sanibel, but I cut all the insects and the fish and stuff and concentrated on places to go. And but Sanibel is included in the Living Gulf Coast. And this is what they really wanted Sanibel to look like. And unfortunately, this is what Captiva may end up looking like. But it's just such a... they really wanted 30,000 dwelling units, Lee County did. 30,000, we're not even at 10. Can you imagine 30,000? You think that traffic going off island would be backed up? It would be backed up to Captiva. Fortunately, we incorporated and changed everything, and about 65% of the island is preserved, including this 5,000 acres that we're doing the presentation on. Which segues well to this. This was taken on Tarpon Beach. This is 150 years ago now, in the 1870s. They lived in that thatched house. They're sitting there, they're chilling out. I forget his name, it's a colonel. He was a colonel in the Civil War. And they're having a great time, as opposed to this guy who's in a messy divorce. She ran off with the pool guy, and it's so you got your options here. You can live the life or, pay alimony. There you go. This is one of my favorite birds, and I know they're here. Has anyone seen them here on the island? Yes. Oh, I haven't yet. I love these birds. They fly so pretty. They are the most graceful birds, and they eat almost exclusively everything on the wing, hence the name kite. They are a raptor. They're related to hawks and eagles, etc. And I just think this is a great photograph and a great bird. This crocodile is the crocodile that's up in the Senate, the bones. This is a picture my son Blake took of her before she actually just got too cold. She literally died of exposure. Crocodiles, especially American crocodiles, they can't take the cold temperature like the alligators. Alligators can, they can live in iced over lakes. It's crazy what alligators can do, but not crocodiles. But she was a beauty. We have these, and they're coming up their nesting season, snowy plovers. This, by the way, is not a life-size shot. I just want to remind, I never know the kind of audience that I have. And so I just want to remind you, in real life, they're monstrous things. And here's a shot I've taken by either Dick or Sarah, I don't know which one took it, but at sunrise, I believe, over Dayton, early in the morning. I'm never there then. I can't do that. I wait until the gate is solidly open. Another place, and I do lectures there as well, is Crow. Through the generosity of an islander, they have just opened a sea turtle rehabilitation tank or enclosure, whatever. They're going to be able to do that. SCCF is another great place. They have a bunch of trails all throughout their back 40, and those are, they bring you all the way down to the river, etc. And they do a fantastic job of monitoring and taking care of sea turtles. And this sea turtle is in the book. This is the leatherback sea turtle. And this sea turtle will grow to be 10, 11 feet long and can weigh as much as a ton. And I've seen them offshore only 3 times in my life. And I do a lot of serious offshore fishing. Extremely rare in the Gulf. They eat jellyfish, like a lot of jellyfish. The Shell Museum is a great place to go, especially if you want to buy and then find on the sand. I did not show you this, but on the back side, the price tags are on both of these. I found this for you. Just make sure to turn it. I guess these days, this is probably how Trump feels. He being the frog. It's not so good. My son took this in our back porch, and the reason he found this is this Cuban tree frog was screaming to high heaven. Oh my God, when they get eaten by a snake, they ain't anything but happy. Another very interesting place, have any of you been to Korshan State Park? Okay. Do any of you think it's a little weird? Oh, Cyrus Tweed, is that his name, Cyrus Tweed? Okay, so when Cyrus Tweed passed in like 1906 or some crazy thing, they kept him in a bathtub expecting him to, until the neighbors called the cops. And then they said, it was a week later, so it couldn't have been good. That bathtub must have not been so good to clean up. Anyway, they practiced celibacy to the point where in 1960 there were 2 women left in the church. And they beat the Catholics. They were good. So they donated the entire estate and the land and the access to the beautiful Estero River to the state, and it's become a park. And if you have not been, with today's traffic, it's 45 minutes max, and it is a stitch. These people were as weird as they get. This is an indigo bunting flying straight at you. Why I say this is we're at the same park, but there they have a beautiful canoe and kayak launch that you can take all the way out to Mound Key and see the highest point of the county, which is like 30 feet high, built by the Clusive Indians, and it's only a remnant of what it used to be because a lot of it is eroded. And it's a fabulous place to kayak out. This is a shot I took of what appears to be a breeding couple. And they've gone on to have 2 children, which we met, and so I was correct. That's Kevin and Betty, and it's a great photo. Here we have another, Dick Fortune took this one, and I don't know what it's eating, but that is just a spectacular action. Look at the water coming off of the thing. Of course, anywhere in Lee County except on Sanibel, because we used to have diamondback rattlesnakes too. They used to be quite common here, but they've been gone for 50 years plus. Lover's Key is interesting because it has the only snorkelable reef, like limestone hard bottom, that you can get to in anywhere in the county. Maybe up in Sarasota you can, and maybe Boca Grande, but locally there's a reef about 100 yards out that you can snorkel over. You'll see little snapper and stuff. It's quite interesting. And the water's so clear right now, it'd be a great time. This is another photo taken by, I think Dick took this one, and he's got a little sea trout. Of course, one of the things we see a lot around here are bottlenose dolphin. And I'm not going to get into their sex life, except to say that if you think LA's kinky, or Tijuana, you got to look into these things. Ooh, they're a bit unusual. We're going to move north now to Sarasota, and the book itself actually goes from north to south, and it's just where it is structurally. So the book starts at the northernmost, in the 6 counties, the northernmost spot, which turned out to be Moat Marine. Now when we put the book together, in the second edition as like 2013, I think, or 2000, yeah, something like that. This is what Moat Marine looked like. It doesn't look like that anymore. This is what it looks like now. They just renovated it. It's completely new. You got to get tickets in advance, time tickets to get in. So you just they're not free. Well, it's expensive, but it's just gorgeous. I've not been to it yet, but I can't wait. But up in Sarasota, another one is Marie Selby Botanical Gardens. And there, if you're lovers of this, orchids, they have one of the most gorgeous orchid houses in all of America. Thousands, at least hundreds of orchids. Right down the street is Oscar Shear State Park. And if you want to see the Florida scrub jay, which should be our state bird, even over the flamingo, though I do like the flamingo. The reason it isn't our state bird is because of developers. Because its habitat is the best habitat to build on. It's scrub oak, upland scrub oak. And if you go there, it takes a long time to find them. But if you look around, this is my wife Molly looking for one. I told her that I thought I saw one just above her head. And it was really fun. Now, we were told at Oscar Shear, if you go looking for scrub jays, don't stop them. Don't do what you usually do when you're trying to find birds. Because unfortunately, or they recommend you not feed them, but people feed them. And they, like in Canada, familiar with Canada jays? Any of you? They'll fly right up to you too. Land on your head, land on your shoulder, land on your hand. It's crazy. But just talk and they'll come to you. And there's literally dozens of them. Another place to see them, but it was out of the scope, it was Archbold Botanic, no.
Biological Station.
Biological Station, up in Highlands. It was out, there's tons of them there. They're fantastically beautiful birds. Another, my favorite parks is Mayaca State Park. Anybody here been to Mayaca? A handful. Let me tell you, it is the bee's knees. It has this canopy walk where you go up about, I don't know, 50, 60 feet, and you walk on the top of all of these oaks, beautiful live oaks, and it is crawling with wildlife. I will almost guarantee you will see deer there. One time, we took a bike ride, about a 4-mile bike ride up the main road, which is, and then there's other paths too. But going up there, I counted 25 armadillos. And why they're there is because the forest consists of 2 trees, live oaks with acorns and leaves, and that's food called mast, which is great food. And the other thing that has are cabbage palms, which produce those little dates, which are great for food. So it has 2 gigantic bread baskets, and it's crawling. You get wild hogs there, wild turkeys. You'll see every major big fauna imaginable. Raccoon, you name it. It's just one big dumpster. Natural dumpster. Now, another place, this is a really weird one. Venice Audubon Rookery. Any of you been there? Okay, just a handful again. This is super fun because this is what I call accidental wildlife refuges, which is the same as Harns Marsh. No one figured this would become one of the biggest rookeries in Sarasota County, but it has. It is just packed. It has over 400 birds, and this shot, I believe, was taken there. And this shot wasn't, but it could have been, because they all breed there, and they all do their dances there. I don't know how many of you have ever seen these. Those plumes stand up when they're courting, like peacocks. They're all up, straight up. It's a great big umbrella behind them. Gorgeous to see. And you can go there, park, and it's in the middle of an industrial park. There's a fire station not a block away that screams every half an hour, and the birds just go, whoa. Somebody's house is on fire. They don't care. They have grown completely acclimated to this super urban industrial environment. And it's just the changing face of nature. But for us, it's a real treat because you really don't, you can do these shots with your iPhone. I mean, they're so close. They're from here to that post away, doing their dances, and they're doing them right now. Charlotte County does not have a lot of eco destinations. They have some really big ones. The Babcock Web, which you got all pass on the way going north on 75, is 60,000 acres, which is what, 5 times the size of Sanibel. And it goes on, and they do hunt in there, and there is a gun range, which is a little disconcerting. But it's fascinating, and there you're most likely to see the red cockaded woodpecker, which is one of the rarest birds in all of Florida. Another one here is Cedar Point, which is a little tiny waterfront park up in Charlotte, and you might be lucky enough to see a scarlet tanager, or, and I've never seen one, has anyone here ever seen one of these? This is a skunk. I've never seen one, but I know they're here. It's called pole skunk or pole. It's got a bunch of nicknames. A fun place to bring the kids and the grandkids is up to Babcock Ranch, because they have this really fun bus tour. They take you around, but they also have the best panther enclosure, because it's a couple of acres, and you really get a feel for their habitat. If you're lucky enough, you'll see a shot like this, which was taken by Jeff Patterson, which is one of my favorite photographs. But you'll definitely see cattle egret there, and there's still cattle on part of the ranch. Collier County is just huge, and Big Cypress National Park is almost the same size as the state of Rhode Island. It's that big. I don't know that, they have so much managed land. You can see the whole bottom is Picayune, Strand, Fakahatchee, Florida Wildlife Panther. But it is all mostly Everglades and wetlands, so it should be. But my all-time favorite, which my wife and I go to almost every year, is Corkscrew Swamp, which is just so fun because it's a 2-mile, more or less, boardwalk, and you just see so much stuff there, so many birds, and in the summer, coming up here in July and August, when it's really nice and cool there. Really, like it's not like this. You might be lucky enough to see this, which is the ghost orchid, which they have a spotting scope right on it, and we went a couple of years ago to see it, and the windstorms the night before took all the ghost orchids down, so we see that whip ball? That's what we looked at. We looked at the whip ball. It was, needless to say, disappointing. It's also a fabulous place to see painted bunyids. And by the way, most of these photos are in the book. Here we are at Crew Marsh. Crew is Caloosahatchee Regional Environmental Wetlands or something. I forget it. It's some, anyway, you know, the first presentation I ever did here at Greene, the bathroom caught fire in the middle of my room. I'm thinking, not again. It's just wrong. I don't know what's going on here, folks. Let's continue this presentation. You might be lucky enough to see, this is a great bird called the marshon. You will never see one here on Sanibel. There's just wrong habitat. I don't think there's ever been one recorded here. But they're also known as the owl hawks. They hunt by, they've got a big parabolic speaker there. This is a photo that Amdo took down in the Everglades, but that's the cover of Living Sanibel. And I gotta tell you, it's a funny story because he had a giant telephoto on because he was photographing these, and then one came in, he was kind of tucked into the bush, getting eaten alive by no-see-ums. This one flew, and it was just within focal range. It was just, otherwise any closer it would have been blurry because he had like a 600 millimeter on. Dick and Sarah took this shot, and I love it. This is what happens to snowy egrets when a bald eagle flies over them. It is called, "Get out of here!" And that is just fun. Now, if you see this in the wild, call Fish and Wildlife, because this is the Naples Zoo, which is a fantastic zoo. And this is an animal called a fossa. And they chase, hunt, and catch and eat lemurs in the trees of Madagascar. They hunt in the trees. They're about the same size as a bobcat. Super fast, super long tail. I got into trouble for the caption on this, which read, Fakahatchee Strand Speed Bump. Honest to God, I got turned down to get into the Everglades National Park because they didn't like the caption. I changed it in the second edition. It's much more polite. There's a road down there called Jane's Scenic Highway. The only thing scenic about it is it's spooky. It's right out of Stephen King. If you go there on a cloudy day, you'll think you're not going to get out. Because it's all dark. But it's a great place for orchid hunting, and there are a lot of alligators. But a friend of mine, Heather Greene, took this shot down one of the side roads. And here's something I'll bet none of you, how many of you know that we have a mink in Florida? Okay, 2, 3, okay. We have a mink. It's called the Everglades mink. Your chances of seeing it are pretty much like that. What's that bird in that mythological one that you can never see? And yeah, it's a mangrove cuckoo. That's about it. Which they should mount one and put it somewhere. Jeff, that's a suggestion. Put a mangrove cuckoo, a mounted one, just on a branch somewhere. I actually did a lecture once in Everglades City, and a woman saw one that day. The only place you're going to see them is in the Everglades, and they're extremely rare, but we have Everglades mink. We also have these. And this is one that I recommend. Do not pet this. So that is an over 1,000-pound American crocodile. That is a beast. I think Dick or Sarah took this shot. Oh, Dick took this shot. And but that had to be 14, 15 feet long, too, because they're so wide. Here's the American alligator, luckily eating the Burmese python, but usually it's the other way around. The Burmese python eat all the small gators. A great place is Collier Seminole State Park. There they have the Black River, which is fantastic, but watch your tides, because if you're paddling it and you catch it in an outgoing tide, you can barely paddle against it. It's so fast. So be careful that you go out at the right time with a falling tide, come back in with the rising tide, or you're going to find yourself rescued, like we were, by a ranger who said, "You're never going to make it home, are you?" Nope. So we hooked us up to a little John boat and towed us back because it goes at about 5 knots, and it's hard to paddle. Alan Maltz took this shot, and I just got to tell you, it's spectacular. It's at dawn. Moving up now, we're going to move into Glades and Hendry County, and this is a park that is 3 times bigger than Sanibel, and it's I'm in Florida now. I think there's a memory loss additive to the loss. How many agree with me? Is it in your water? Hallelujah. It'll come to me. This is a gigantic park, and I'll think of it in a minute. But there you're going to likely see the crested caracara, which, by the way, is a spectacular bird to see. The males, they get a bright blue beak. They're everywhere in South America, but there are only 500, I believe, here, and about 500 in Texas. And they're about the same size as a falcon, And they kind of feed on roadkill. So if you're up around Immokalee and stuff like that, you can go there. Now, another great place is Fish Eating Creek, which has got like 60 miles of river with no houses, barns, or people on it. It's all wild. And there, on Fish Eating Creek, while canoeing, we saw the largest alligator I've ever seen. It was at least 15 feet long, 800 pounds, maybe more. And behind my canoe, as we paddled away, I noted this. Now, I know from doing all these books, including Alligators, Sharks, and Panthers, that the chances of this thing tipping your canoe or kayak over and eating you are nil. Not true in Africa. The African crocodile will go out of its way to eat you and the kayak, because he says crunchy on the outside, but that delicious vanilla flavor on the inside. So they will, but the alligators won't. But I'm going to tell you, honest to God, when my wife and I saw this one come in, because I got really close to take a photo, when it crawled into the water, we really did paddle. I mean, I know it wasn't going to tip us over, but that offered no comfort at all. You know, it's like, I'm as scared as you are. When you're looking at a 15-foot alligator, do the right thing. Get away. They're just too big. This is another interesting place. It's the Everglades. It goes around, it's called the Lost Trail, for good reason. It's not hard to get lost, but you can bike all the way around the Everglades, half of it up on top of the dike, but go only when it's cool, because when it's hot, it's really big up there. Now we're going to talk about something that is been washed from Dean Garland, but I don't have to do that, because I'm just a speaker. Atmospheric CO2 is going to make a mess of all of this, and I love this next two slides because it's so true. This is the typical hominid response to challenges posed by climate change, and my only interactive slide. See? See the methane release? But here's some interesting news, and as soon as we move on with our lives, which is coming soon, I hope, we're going to do the right thing. And this is an interesting statistic, because I just looked this up the other day. I wanted to update the presentation. Solar power. Solar power right now is the cheapest form of electricity in the world. Period. Nothing can beat it right now. Not coal, not gas, not wind, not geothermal, not nuclear, nothing. Look at this. For next, solar power will be the cheapest form of electricity through 2050 by all projections. Look at the cost of coal, which we are currently supporting. It's going to be up here at $350 megawatt hours, and coal, I think it's basically not even 25. So here's a thought. This is Florida. As you can see, we're in the prime. We're at 17. We're some of the best solar areas in the world. How many of you have heard of fatal lethal greening or citrus greening? Okay, citrus greening. I'm going to show you a graph. Florida orange production falls to the lowest point since 1945. Right now, Florida has millions of dead trees. Acres upon acres upon acres of dead trees. Where in the hell are the solar panels? And why do we even give a damn about the Straits of Hormuz? They're all moot. We just plow them down, cover them all with pasture and solar panels, and guess what? We can power the entire eastern seaboard in one day, every day, for the rest of time. That's what we got to do. This is Germany. They lead the world in solar power. Their map sucks. Look at our map. Look at our map is orange. You see any orange? Look, it's way down at the bottom. Good luck with that. Wind farms. Wind farms are going to be the second cheapest form. How about tidal energy? Tidal energy is incredible. I mean, the Bay of Fundy, they've actually tried to harvest those 45-foot tides with several different machines, but the tides are so powerful, all the machines are broken. So it's an engineering issue. And fusion. Fusion, I mean, once we get fusion, each gallon of seawater, and if you look around, there's a lot of water. 71% of the ocean is covered with, the world is covered in ocean. Most of that ocean is 10,000 feet deep. We have enough energy, each gallon in the fusion reactor, each gallon of salt water produces 300 gallons of gas. We have 26 billion years of power with a fusion reactor. Because, and you know, chasing oil is a waste of time. This is our planet. There is no other planet. There's no planet B. We're kind of all stuck on spaceship Earth here. And I really hope that we take care of it. I mean, it's not going the way I would like it to go. But I know that we can change, and hopefully this lecture will be a small part of that change. And that's the end.